They said I was paranoid. But let me ask you, how would you feel watching the president of your HOA stroll onto the land your parents bought decades ago, acting like she already owned it, passing out glossy brochures and promising the neighborhood some shiny new wellness center on your property, like you just disappeared? Yeah, that happened. While everyone else was dreaming about a community pool, I was lying awake at night, counting every engine that rumbled across my soil, every headlight flickering past my window, wondering how much they'd take before I snapped. Call me crazy if you want, but would you trust the system or fight back? Tell me in the comments. I still remember holding the old yellow deed from 1978. The ink faded, but the words still clear as day. My folks bought these 3 acres, built their little ranch house here, long before anyone dreamed up the Willowbrook HOA. Back then, it was just farmland and a handful of scattered homes. The HOA didn't even show up until '95 when the cookie-cutter houses started popping up all around us. Our land wasn't just a plot. It came with mineral rights, water rights, and most importantly, a bulletproof clause. No HOA restrictions, ever. See, that's the thing most people don't get about HOAs. They can only push around folks who sign up for their little contracts. My land predated their rule by almost 20 years. I was out checking the old survey stakes when I heard voices. Susan Peterson, Queen Bee of the HOA, leading a county official and some survey crew straight across my field. She had that smile. You know the type. Like she's running for mayor of a place she already owns. She didn't even bother with permission. Mr. Grant, we're optimizing this underutilized space for the community, she told me, as if it was already decided. I just raised an eyebrow. You got the permits for building on private property, Susan? The surveyor paused. The county guy shuffled his feet. Susan waved it off. HOA projects don't need permits. We have board authority. Which was absolute nonsense, and we both knew it. That's when my neighbor Frank Miller, 30 years, in the county building department, walked up and called her bluff. Every project needs permits, especially on private land. Ma'am, do you have the owner's authorization? Susan's smile went tight. She wasn't expecting to be outnumbered. Mrs. Chun, walking her dog nearby, leaned in and whispered to me. She pulled the same stunt with the Johnsons last year. Cost them thousands to fight her off. No wonder Susan acted like she was invincible. She'd been getting away with it for years. Now, 5 years ago, I'd have blown a gasket. I'd lost a house once to a crooked property dispute. I knew how fast panic could ruin you. But not this time. This time, I kept my cool, pulled out my phone, and hit record while Susan kept spinning tales about community development. Every lie she told was another nail in her own coffin. Sometimes, you let your enemy dig their own grave and just hold the shovel. Show me the statute that gives you power over non-member private property, Susan. I asked nice and easy. She blinked like I'd thrown water in her face. The surveyor packed up. Even the county official looked ready to bolt. Susan fell back on her favorite line. Mr. Grant, I know property law can be confusing, but as HOA president, I have broad powers. Your parents' lot has been vacant too long. The community needs this. I held up my deed. This land was here before your HOA existed. You got as much say here as the mayor of Dallas has on a farm in Oklahoma. Susan started sputtering about abandoned property statutes. As she marched off, her crew scrambling after her, I realized something. She genuinely believed she had power here. That's the most dangerous kind of idiot, you know? Confident and clueless. Next morning, Peterson was at the county building, trying to force a permit through. Frank and I watched her get stonewalled, her face redder by the minute. She tried to pull permits for land she doesn't own, Frank said, chuckling. When Tom from Permits told her it had to be the deed holder, she tried to argue HOA authority. Didn't work. Later that day, a contractor showed up at my place, looking nervous. He unrolled blueprints, plans for a luxury house, not a community center. She told me this was HOA land and showed me fake permits. He whispered, pale as a ghost when I showed him my deed. I'm calling my insurance and my lawyer. I don't want any part of this. Smart move. But Peterson didn't back down. Suddenly, I started getting calls, insurance, mortgage, county tax office, asking about unauthorized construction. Each ring felt like a flashback to the nightmare from 5 years ago. Laura, my wife, squeezed my hand, worry in her eyes. She's not just after the land. She's coming for our financial lives now. Then came the big play. Peterson herself at my door with her husband, manila folder in hand. She shoved it at me, claimed I owed $12,000 in community maintenance assessments, fake tax records, fake liens. Anyone with half a brain could see it was all forged. But she figured if she threw enough paper at me, I'd cave. Frank spotted the fakes right away. Laura started asking questions Peterson couldn't answer. You could feel the tide turning. Peterson had made the classic bully mistake. She gave me the proof I needed. But just when you thought she'd quit, she found a new contractor, someone willing to build fast, not smart. I woke up at dawn to bulldozers tearing through my parents' old garden. Peterson standing there with a hard hat, waving like she was Queen of Texas. Frank showed up with his camera, documenting every trespass. The crowd started gathering, some neighbors curious, some nervous, a few actually buying into Peterson's pitch about a wellness center. That's when Councilman Torres showed up. Yep, the same Torres who was running for re-election and needed HOA votes. Suddenly Peterson had political cover. She gave a speech, Torres nodded along, and folks started muttering about rising property values. I saw where this was going. I stepped up. Councilman, who owns this land? He dodged. Politicians always do, and the crowd got restless. Frank backed me up, explaining code violations, but Peterson just attacked his credibility. The neighborhood started splitting down the middle, rights versus progress. That night, Laura and I watched construction lights blaze across our lawn. She squeezed my shoulder. Every day this keeps going, she gets more desperate. Be careful. Frank knocked on the door with a tip. Torres had cut a deal with Peterson for HOA endorsements. This wasn't about the neighborhood anymore. It was politics, pure and simple. Then the real war started. Financial harassment, bogus inspections, false reports to the county and the IRS. Inspectors kept showing up, each apologizing for the hassle, each one finding nothing wrong. This is harassment, Mr. Grant, one said, shaking his head. We see it sometimes, but never this coordinated. Peterson's goal was clear: wear us down, break us financially, maybe force a sale. But Laura and I documented everything. Every call, every inspector, every forged letter. When Peterson tried to slap us with a restraining order for threatening community safety, I just laughed. Every stunt she pulled was more evidence for the DA. Now, I wasn't going to wait for her to make the next move. With Frank's help, we dug into the HOA books, found over $47,000 of unauthorized spending, all tied to her wellness center. Laura's legal eye spotted the felonies, embezzlement, fraud, you name it. We rallied the neighbors, got the media involved, called in every agency from code enforcement to the feds. When Channel 7 rolled up, Peterson went from queen bee to public enemy overnight. The climax? Peterson's grand opening, 30 people. A silk dress, her big speech. I walked in with Laura, Frank, and 3 undercover lawmen. I held up my deed and said, "Thanks, Peterson, for building this beautiful house on my land." Laura listed every crime, fraud, trespassing, embezzlement, while guests started backing toward the door. The DA served the warrants right there. Handcuffs, TV cameras, the whole bit. Her legacy was a house she'd never live in and a stack of felonies that would haunt her for life. The aftermath? I got my parents' land back, and one hell of a villa, once it was brought up to code. Frank became HOA president, fixed the rules, and Torres lost his next election by a landslide. The story made the news, law schools, even changed a few banking regulations. Our community learned the hard way that standing up, together, with facts and patience, beats arrogance and corruption every time. And you know what? Sometimes justice doesn't just knock, it walks in wearing a badge and a camera crew. So, would you have trusted the system or fought back? Drop your take below, because the next person it happens to could be you. Hit that like if you want more stories like this. And whatever you do, don't let anyone build their dreams on your land.